So yeah, welcome to the first Tune On Me podcast. We thought we'd best put some voices to the amount of information you've probably been reading already. So yeah, my name's Scott. Also sitting here with
Chris Smith, hello.
And Johnny Brown.
Aidan Armstrong.
We've also got Tom on the camera. So if you're watching the video version of this, that'll all make sense.
He just waved at the camera.
Hell's yeah, he did. But yeah, basically we thought we'd set the site up as some sort of focused version of the Northeast music scene, especially around Newcastle, because there's definitely a wealth of talent in the city that goes unnoticed. And the region's definitely got a very vibrant and varied musical scene, or very variety of scenes, and we thought we'd contribute to it. So what do you guys think? How have you found different bands that you've been covering and stuff, or different venues you've been visiting?
Yeah, awesome. The whole project sort of grew out of the fact that, well, we're all sort of music fans. A couple of people that are part of the group are obviously local to the area, or more than a couple. A few of us are training music journalists, so it all seemed to sort of make sense that we'd go along with a project that sort of focused in on the local, but making it sort of global, so that we're sort of trying to get the word out there. Because thanks, man. We're just trying to get the word out there, basically, because, like you say, there is a wealth of talent in the local music.
I think the really exciting thing is that is all the emerging, up and coming talent that we're spoken to. You know, it's not very often you get to read about Newcastle's emerging.
Well, one of the things that you covered was the British Folk Club, which I hadn't even heard of. But reading the piece, it was a pretty cool night.
But it's been going for over 50 years.
Yeah. So shining the light on that's a pretty cool thing. And Johnny, you visited quite a lot of venues and stuff, didn't you?
Yeah, I went around a few different venues. I mean, probably amongst the group, I'm probably the least music, inclined. But at the end of it, I found myself getting more interested in, especially the NSR gig that we covered as well. I found I thought Warning were great. Probably and Bleach as well. Obviously Warning being obviously from Newcastle, and that kind of local base as well. Just it kind of made me realise, hang on, there's more to music than what's just played on certain radio shows, mainstream radio. So it's kind of opened my eyes as well. And obviously as a journalist, that's kind of where you want to get to the bottom of the story. And like you say, the fact that the music scene is underreported and undervalued as well. It's kind of given we're here to kind of provide a voice for that and look at a few issues as well.
Definitely.
But the venues are great. They're really helpful, really supportive of what we were doing.
I mean, I didn't even realise how many we actually had. I mean, if we do a quick rundown, the big ones that people are going to know, maybe even if you're outside Newcastle, you've probably already heard the huge things like the Metro Arena, or the O2, the thing that used to be the Colin Academy is now the O2 Academy. But there's so many smaller venues that have so much more personality, like the Clooney and
Heart Attack and Vine. Heart Attack and Vine. I mean, that's the one that's only just started up as well. And so much personality in that venue. It's just in the venue itself, sort of thing. Yeah.
I think what you get from these smaller venues is it's more intimate. The gigs, it's kind of it's a lot more closer. Looking at the Clooney and the Clooney 2, it's just kind of it's more you're right there with the band, right in the Metro Radio, which obviously everyone's going to know, or Sage. It's kind of they're there on stage. I'm here in the audience.
I think that whole Ousburn area is really exciting. I mean, especially the Evolution Emergent, something that's they've been doing quite a bit on, and all the different venues that are going to be doing that, and just the whole concept of it.
Well, let's talk about that. What's if anyone who doesn't know what is Evolution Emergent?
Well, it's sort of born from, we have Evolution Festival in the Northeast, which is the Northeast's biggest music festival, really. And I've got a major case of angina. Oh, fuck.
Angina, right?
Heart attack waiting to happen. Evolution Festival is the big festival up here in the Northeast, and you obviously get loads of big names. I mean, this year they've got Jake Bugg playing and the Vaccines, people like that. But Evolution Emergent sort of sprung from that, and it's run by Generator, who are sort of the leading music agency, not just in the Northeast really, but across the UK. And it's just an opportunity to showcase sort of local artists, local venues as well. And like you say, it's all down at the Ousburn Valley, just one sort of area. There's 10 different venues and about 50 different bands on one night. So
cool.
Next week, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Free?
It is free as well, I know.
I definitely didn't know it was free.
How good is that?
Yeah. So do we know when that is?
Yeah, it's next Saturday.
Sweet.
Next Saturday night. should say the date really, shouldn't I? It's Saturday the 25th, and certainly a few of us are heading along to cover it as well, so that should be cool.
Tsunami, yeah. So, I think overall we sort of just set out to just try and cover as much stuff as possible, and then over time we started narrowing it down to telling a more specific story of the region or the area. And I don't know, just sort of hopefully by after you've had a bit of a peruse across a lot of the content on the website, you've maybe discovered a band or some sort of artist or something that you didn't really know before. So hopefully we've succeeded in shining the light on them.
I think there's been some really great stories just since we've started covering it as well. I know we started off with Lulu James, who's a solo artist, sort of soul jazzy pop singer, bit outlandish with her outfits and stuff like that. And she was just starting to pick up a bit of buzz when we kind of first started covering her. And I know Tom reviewed one of her singles, and I wrote a little feature piece on her as well. And the other day she's ended up on Jules Holland, live with Jules Holland. So that's a fantastic little story in itself, because I think we'll be hearing a lot more from her over the next year. So hopefully it does prove that, someone who has come from the northeast, because she is from Newcastle, can sort of break past those barriers of being an artist in the northeast. And be a success nationwide.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been one of the central topics, hasn't it? Has been about how there's this sort of perception that the northeast is sort of disadvantaged, but I think a lot of the case it's not actually true.
No.
So a lot of the people that we've talked to have said the opposite. For instance,
As it wax out his little
Yeah.
his
I
sheet of
think at the
memorable
end
quotes.
of the day, if you're good enough, you will get noticed still.
Yeah.
I mean, what I think I've discovered personally is that if you're a band in London and say you're average, you're a lot more likely to get signed up and have a semi-successful career than an average band from Newcastle sort of thing. I don't know, that's just the way it goes at the moment. And, as much as we moan about it, London is the capital city, and it's understandable that, record labels want to base themselves in that area because it is sort of the creative hub of the country.
Yeah.
But obviously, the challenge is for someone like a group of journalists, Tune Army, or perhaps a PR company or a music agency like Generator, just to get the word out there about Northeast bands. And
we spoke to a record label based in Newcastle about that very fact, about the fact that they're based in Newcastle, looking for talent, trying to recognise what they think will be a success. And one of the bands that Tom covered, Holy Moly and the Crackers, is actually one of their. He manages that band, and he said he heard one song by them and knew that he wanted to manage them, and knew they could go somewhere. So I mean, they're another one to see where they end up. But it's one of those things, like you say. Obviously London is going to be one of those where the record labels are obviously
well, on that
going to stand
point,
out for more bands.
Conrad Bird,
He's got his quote ready.
Conrad Bird of Holy
Dive
Moly
in.
and the Crackers, which you just said there, he said about Newcastle and the North East, it's got all the talent, community and excitement of London and none of the pretentiousness, especially the folk scene.
Enough said, really, there.
Exactly.
That's just gone in a nutshell.
That's always been one of the big things in Crystal, jumping in and defend the South, but one of the things that the North prides itself
You'll
on is
defend the pretentious.
pretentiously. But the warmth and community aspect. I think Newcastle is a very communal city. There's a lot of people just get on with each other, kind of thing. I mean, as much as Geordie Shore might have warped it, the original Geordie mentality is very friendly and whatever else. I think a lot of the bands that are coming out of, the ones that I've covered, personally, bands like In Oceans and ones that hopefully we'll get interviews with in the future, like Saints of Arcadia and Dragnet. Two big rock bands. They're just having fun, and you can tell that they're doing it for the love of the artistry. And I think a lot of that comes through in a lot of the bands from Newcastle, because they're brought up in this world of in the city rather of like a warmth kind of expressionful kind of place, as opposed to somewhere like London where a lot of things just get churned out.
I think there is a definite community there, which I think it benefits from being so not small but compact. Newcastle's not a very big city, but the thing of that is all the venues are very close together. So it's you don't have to go halfway across the city to see different bands.
Yeah.
There's different venues playing different music just around the corner from each
Every
other.
day.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting point to touch on that. I mean, there definitely is a sort of sense of there being a community up here in Newcastle, a musical community. But at the same time, I still think, and this is probably one of the things that I found most interesting from the project, is that there is still a lack of support just amongst the fans, the people sort of thing. Like in terms of gigs, it is really difficult to get people out to go see live music, and it's not just bands from the northeast. You know, I've seen touring bands that have been played on Radio 1, and yet there's 15 people that turn up to their gigs. And I mean, I'm still interested to discover why that is, or why people aren't so engaged with getting out there and seeing live music.
I think that's a wider question on, I don't know, like genres and stuff. It depends. I think that's obviously the whole thing with generation digital distribution, all that sort of thing, which isn't really something that we covered as part of our sort of focus at Tsunami. But I think depending on the different features that we do, we might end up covering it eventually, or whatever. But yeah, I think in terms of band supporting, like fan supporting local bands, for the gigs that we've been to and that we've covered, the bands that we've seen, there's still been a great atmosphere. Everyone that we've been to. But
I think that's one of the trouble. That obviously the people who are there, they're the die-hard fans. They're the ones who really want to get out there. It's getting to the people, the casual listener, getting them to go out, because unless they go, they're not going to get that experience.
True.
And with there not being that many people there in the first place when they get there,
And with there not being that much coverage of the scene in particular, it's
well,
almost
I mean, hopefully one of the things now with something like Tsunami is supposed to actually get to people who wouldn't necessarily know about certain things. I mean, like you say, the folk stuff, something you wouldn't have known about before. And there was the thing I did on the Jazz Cafe. I mean, I've been to the Jazz Cafe, but it was that long ago. I didn't even realise that the guy who ran it was dead.
Oh, really?
Just to tap into what you were saying there, Scott, about bands supporting other bands. I mean, I think that's one of the things that you've got in Newcastle, like kind of like say that kind of friendliness, that kind of like will support you. But ultimately, that's also one of the problems as well, because with the record label that we spoke to, also mentioned that that is one of the key issues, because as much as you want to support another band, at the end of the day, you're in competition with them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a revolving circle of this. I'm like, we'll help you out, but we want to beat you, but we'll help you. We want to beat you, we want to help you. And it's kind of trying to get out of that kind of like hamster wheel. Keeps going round and round.
The snake eating its tail.
But, it's one like kind of like philosophical way to look at it. Like,
Yeah. Now I'm just wondering whether snakes have tails. But whatever. But yeah, I think we've pretty much we've covered a fair little, just a glimpse, hopefully a nice little glimpse into the sort of stuff that we're doing here at Tsunami. And hopefully you've read some articles, you've checked some features out, you've discovered some patterns and some artists, and going forward, hopefully you'll continue to do the same. So yeah, from all of us, like, I don't know, check out as much stuff as you want, and we're Tsunami, so...
Tune in next time.
Exactly!